All right, now it's time. And it is episode 20, right?
It is. Look at us.
Oh my gosh. All right, everyone out there, welcome to the MikeDrop podcast. You've got me, Mike Truesdell, and the wonderful Mike Compatello through the other lens. Today we have episode 20, which is how we organize our sticks and mallets. And before you make the judgment of, oh wow, that's going to be boring, just wait and see. It might be less boring than you think. Let's welcome the wonderful Mike Compatello, everyone. Yes!
What's up? I'm feeling Mike positive.
Oh, that's us. Double Mike positive.
I'm ready. Yeah. Mike plus, Mike squared.
Let's go. Put me in, coach.
Let's do it. Yeah, I mean, I have a question right out of the gate.
I'm ready now.
I know we've talked many years about organization. How did you organize your thoughts about getting ready for this episode?
I put them in little bags, and then I put those bags inside of the closet with labels on them.
Oh, nice.
Wait, no. Are we talking about ideas?
Ideas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's about the same. How about you? What did you do?
I wrote out what currently is happening in my studio, and then I tried to see, are there any overarching goals that I could pretend I had done on purpose?
That sounds like how we plan recitals.
That's right, yeah.
Like, okay, here's a piece I like to play. Here's another one. Is there anything I can possibly fabricate that will connect these pieces? They are both written with a 4/4 time signature.
Nice. Love it.
This is and now I will play 4/4 for 4 by Anthony Cerrone.
The recital is called 4/4.
4 for 4.
Common time for common times.
Wow. But not for the uncommon people.
Nice. So I know we were going to talk about mallet and stick organization and possibly also how we organize our music, because I know you're a very organized paper person.
I am.
But let's dive into the mallets and sticks, because if you're a percussionist, you got stuff, right?
Of course. Yeah. And so we're going to preface the audience with maybe saying they can expect maybe a tripartite structure. Do you think?
Yes,
like
I hope
six, sticks, mallets, music, or maybe a bipartite structure, sticks and mallets and music?
I think so. Yeah.
We'll keep it
I like
honest.
that. Bipart. Well, I maybe you have a similar thought, because mine was organization, like storage and organization, and then deployment.
I'm in.
Which I think of as two separate things. You know, how do I organize things when I'm taking them with me to a concert or a rehearsal, versus how are they living? What's their home life? And same for the music. So, yeah.
I love it. Well, let's dive into it. So, we're percussionists. We have to have things.
Yes.
It's kind of the cross we have to bear. It's not fun.
Yes. Many thanks.
All right. So, hey, can I ask you maybe a starter question that's completely going to derail our conversation?
I'm ready.
How did you acquire all of the sticks and mallets and stuff that you had? Like, did you buy, did you have a big time where you bought a whole bunch of stuff? And then are you still buying things?
Ooh, good question. I had a big growth period. So there was an initial burst of stuff when I first started to play. And then a big growth period happened at summer festivals. I remember as a high schooler, I went to, middle schooler and high schooler, I went to Interlaken. And I remember while I was at Interlaken, Keith Aleo said, these are the mallets and sticks that you need. And I remember, ordering them on the phone, and here's the music that you need. And I actually think the bookstore there had percussion sheet music.
Amazing.
And then I remember going to the Aspen Music Festival, and also buying more stuff. So there was a period where I was buying things there that were the recommendation of the teacher. And ditto, when I got to college, there was a big sort of ramping up of purchasing of stuff. And I've always been an extra kind of purchaser. So if someone says, get this thing, I will try to buy the mallets on the other side of it, because I always have wanted many implements. I'm just out of curiosity. You know, same when we talked about method books. I like to have a lot of books, and I I liked having a lot of mallets. And then there was a certain point where, like you, I moved to another country, and there was a delight in seeing what kind of implements people were using in another place. And then at a certain point, I was fortunate to start working with a mallet making company. So I started to get some stuff at a discount or free. And so now when I buy stuff, it's very deliberate. I want to buy something that is higher end, I guess, or something that is going to do a very specific job, because by now I've acquired a lot of stuff. And it's kind of hard to get rid of mallets.
Hurts, doesn't it?
It hurts. And then you always miss it. Like, oh, I wish I had those thingamaboobs right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? What's the scope of your mallet journey?
Well, I'm kind of similar. I'm similar. Like I bought things based on need or interest, and it was a lot easier when Steve Weiss was a paper catalog,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because you could like flip to the tambourine section or the mallet, the vibraphone mallet section, and then just like very easily scroll down that.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That was so much fun.
Okay, so here's my thought as an educator now, and you are somewhat responsible for giving out that list that Keith gave to you. So when you're choosing, I'm going to go straight to the real issue. When you're choosing timpani mallets for somebody to buy, how do you choose for like the undergraduate student who's coming in for the first year? How do you choose which timpani mallets that they should be purchasing? And
I hate
maybe
you.
I should preface this by saying it's the reason, if somebody's wondering why this is a tough question, the issue is that there's such a wide spread of quality of timpani mallets, and
Yes.
quality is like how well and uniformly things are sewn, or the quality of the felt, or the way that the handle is balanced, how the bamboo is, like how straight the bamboo is, or whether it's got knots or not. So anyway, there's a lot of difference in quality, and there's a huge difference in price.
Yes. That is the
So
main thing.
how do you choose? Where do you go on that spectrum?
Oh, my God. I hate
Undergraduate
you.
student, first year.
Why did you do this? You went straight to the hardest question. Okay, yes. So what I do, since I teach at a public university where not everybody has unlimited money, when I do my mallet and stick requirements, I do a good, better, best mentality, just as like
Awesome.
a preface. So get this. This will be fine. This is a little bit better. But if you really are interested in this for your life, get this thing. That's sort of how I do it. But timpani mallets seem a little squirrelier, right? They seem to have more volatility in people's hands. Like the same mallet with me and you would probably sound more different than the difference between you and I using the same vibraphone mallet. So I like to do taste testing with people, but the quest is on. And, like you said, I do good, better, best. So
I
the
love that.
best is like the best. And good is sort of what's commercially available from one of the bigger mallet companies. So maybe that's Vic Firth, or maybe that's Innovative. And then better is like a more boutique-y thing, but is still like accessible, physically accessible. You don't have to call a specific person to get them. But then also within the realm of possibility that you might buy one or two of these things.
Sure.
But with timpani mallets, though, if you spend, you could spend $40 or $50 and get something that's really bad.
Yeah.
And by bad, I mean sonically dead, maybe, or extremely heavy or extremely light. Quality of workmanship bad, but particularly the sewing job very bad.
Sewing. It's
The
got to
sewing
be even.
could really, yeah. And the number of commercially available mallets I've seen where the sewing job is just not good is very high. So I'm skeptical. How about you?
Yeah, I go for the middle. Like I try to find whatever the least expensive bamboo mallet is,
Okay.
and then try to recommend that. And like you said, like I think it's a good idea for anybody who's like in high school to go out and get the mallet that is going to work well, but maybe isn't the mallet you're going to use in your professional life forever. And then
Yeah.
just know that down the road, when you've decided that you need something, you can upgrade, as opposed to like, okay, I'm in high school. I'm not sure if I am going to do music or something else as a career. Now I'm going to go purchase this Cuppert mallet for
Yeah.
250 euros.
Yeah. That's true.
That maybe isn't the best call, but
What do you do? I mean, one thing I'm striving to eliminate is this sense of, or this feeling of regret, maybe, where you're purchasing a mallet because your teacher says, "I need you to get these mallets," and then,
yeah,
maybe years later or months later, you start working with a different mentor, and then, or you develop a certain way, and you discover, man, I hate all of these. Why did I buy 10?
yeah,
Versus one at a time. I usually will buy like some of a series and then maybe get the rest if I need them. But yeah, so I like
yeah,
your thought about what's the cheapest available XYZ. And timpani
yeah.
mallets are the most easy to repair on your own, I think. Although maybe there are people out there that are really great at wrapping marimba mallets. I am not, but I am comfortable doing timpani mallets.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we're all going to be close to people in school who at least know somebody who could rewrap the mallets for you. And I think that's a great solution, right? Because you buy a set of mallets, and the mallets that we bought 20 years ago or 15 years ago are maybe an extra $15 or $20 now. It's like almost
Exactly.
double the cost.
Yeah. Totally. And, with timpani mallets, as opposed to drumsticks, for those that are not not classical percussionists, you're not ever breaking the shaft of these mallets.
Right.
So they could theoretically last a really, really long time because you're not hitting any rim shots ever.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got this huge collection of sticks and mallets. They're finicky. They're in some ways fragile.
Yeah.
They could be used for a whole variety of different things. So should we go to it?
Let's do it. You want to go
right.
implement by implement?
Okay, so let's start with the SD1. How do you have that cataloged in your system? Do you have barcodes on all the sticks, I assume?
Oh yeah. Every single stick. It's funny because for the sticks, I keep them in bags. I store them in bags.
Okay.
And I store the bags. You can kind of see it. I store the bags.
No. Are you talking about, just for anybody who's listening on the radio, are you talking about those clear plastic bags?
Oh, I'm talking about mallet bags. So
Right.
I have a number of large mallet bags, like the kind you might buy to carry a bunch of marimba mallets in.
Yep.
And I store them on a big thing of pegboard. And before I had the pegboard, I just kept them in the bags. And on each bag, I used to have a luggage tag of what was inside of it. And snare drum sticks is one of those bags.
Yeah.
So, and I separate snare drum sticks, like concert sticks, from drum set sticks. And I store the drum set sticks in the same bag as I store like brushes and roots and stuff like that. And the concert sticks, I seem to have a lot of them, so they kind of have their own bag. And then when I need them, and this will be a theme, I kind of take them out. When they're in use, I have like a mallet bag that's sort of my, I'm teaching at school bag, or my
Yep.
I'm going to this bag, and I'll put the sticks in there. And then I have great joy in unpacking and cleaning them up. So that's how I store them. And then previous to that, I use IKEA Finis trash cans. Those
Yes,
little
I remember
$1 trash cans. Yeah. How about you? What about the SD1?
Well, the amazing thing is I listened to you say all of that, and the fun part is, all of that is almost precisely what I do. And I know this has been we've been joking around about this being the agree cast.
Yes, total agree cast.
Yeah. So for me, I remember the moment I had this thought in high school. I was playing in a youth orchestra in Wisconsin, and I realized that I had all of these sticks, and the conductor of the percussion ensemble, who's also my private teacher, Vicki Jenks, she would very well intentioned tell us, you should bring all your sticks to the rehearsal.
Ooh, okay.
Right? I mean, it makes a lot of sense. What happens if you only have your one pair of mallets that you practiced on at home, and then you actually have another set of mallets that you can't use because they're at home, right? The
Yeah,
conductor's
yeah,
going to
yeah,
request
yeah.
it. So I loved that thought, and so I thought, okay, how am I going to do this? Because I've started to acquire sticks. Sometimes people give me things, or sometimes I go out and buy them or whatever. Uh, and so I have this. How do I bring all of these sticks at once?
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to do what you did, which is to categorize these sticks in different ways and make little subsections.
Okay.
And I would like pick up little tiny stick bags one at a time. So they were the like kind of drum set stick bags that are like maybe 6 or 7 inches across, and then they like open up into a single fold
Yeah, yeah,
drum
yeah.
set stick.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So I would put the sticks in there, and the categories that I came up with are kind of similar to what you're dealing with. I had one for sticks, drum set sticks or drumsticks, and I put
Mm-hmm.
concert sticks in there too, actually. But I had one for drumsticks, one for vibraphone mallets, one for marimba mallets, and one for like unwound mallets that don't have a covering on them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then I would put these, whatever that is, 4 or 5 stick bags, put them into a like a small rolling suitcase, and then at that point I could take all the sticks that I owned in the world and bring them to rehearse. Oh, sorry, timpani mallets had another bag, and I could bring all of those sticks and mallets along with my folder of music in
Mm.
one rolling suitcase to every rehearsal and wheel it around with me during percussion ensemble to the different instruments, and then I'd have
Nice.
everything there.
Okay, okay.
So that obviously has exploded since we've spent, can you say, like definitely thousands, maybe $10,000 on sticks and mallets in your life.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So now that we don't have enough, or we have too many sticks that we can't take them all to every rehearsal, so we have to
Mm.
be a little bit selective. But the system still stands. That I have these this bag that I use are these Steve Weiss um, bags with the backpack straps that are kind of like the Marimba One bags, but they're a little bigger.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, so I use those and just kind of went to town buying Steve Weiss bags at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the end. I used to do the thing that you're doing, where you have the pegboard and the mallet bag is open,
Mm-hmm.
suspended by some pegboard hooks.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to do that. I stole that from our good friend Andy Bliss.
Oh, interesting.
He had that in his office at University of Tennessee. He had these mallet bags that were, I think, like drywall anchored into the wall, maybe.
Overkill.
And I loved the ability to look at something and see all of the options
Yeah, totally, totally.
instead of like think about, oh, I wonder if there's a better mallet for this, and then you have to go poke around somewhere for it.
Definitely. I agree. Mm-hmm.
Do you have that?
Yeah.
Is that something that you're thinking about with your system?
Yeah, because I will forget what I have, which is of course a
Yeah.
nice problem to have. But I've also evolved. I mean, pretty early in the game, I got into, if I had a dedicated place I was practicing that it was like mine or I had access to, using these wire shelving units and then
Yes.
sticking in the mallets into the wire shelving unit. So like imagine either a wire shelving unit that's like 2 or 3 shelves high or one that mounts into the wall that's just one, and then you could put your marimba mallets in it, or vibraphone mallets in it, and so that they're sort of hanging with the ball being suspended in between two of the metal rods. So that's what I do for marimba and vibraphone mallets. Basically anything where the head is big enough, the ball is big enough to sustain that. And the reason why is that I remember once having a lesson with my teacher Bob, and somebody had one of those Malletech marimba mallet bags, and Bob was like,
Yes.
these rip up your mallets, right?
With the
And
corduroy.
yeah, and I started to think, am I just destroying my mallets by having them in a mallet bag? What's the place where they will touch the least amount of stuff? And so I started to put them in that, and I liked being able to see them, because a lot of times I'll use a set of mallets where I'll, like we've talked about before, I'll graduate the mallets, and so I
Sure.
want to get the adjacent ones.
Yep.
with me. And so, yeah, I started doing that when I had the ability to, which has been really good. And it's meant that my organization system has changed a little bit. So now I have like rubber and plastic and wood mallets that I keep next to the marimba and vibraphone mallets just because their balls are bigger. And so they're like rubber mallets I don't mind hitting a wooden plank with.
Yep.
And then I have another set of rubber and plastic mallets that I think are just purely orchestral focused. And they're next to the brass mallets and stuff like that. So unwound, but kind of nice. So I use that little shelving thing, but many years, just like you, I just had them in mallet bags, ready to go.
I have there's two things in my mind. One is, I think you and I both would probably acknowledge the detriment to the hanging mallet thing.
Yes, totally.
That I think it's one of the most like beautiful displays of mallets, right?
Yes.
Like you can see the different colors of the mallet heads, and you can organize them in ways. And if you wanted to, you could organize by color.
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
like people organize books or whatever. I don't understand that, but and you can see the actual like entire mallet, so you can see, oh, hey, that's a rattan handle one, that's a two-step fiberglass one,
Yeah.
like whatever. For me, I think the only maybe detriment to it is the length of the mallet is the only thing that takes up space. Like it's super skinny, whatever,
Right.
but so you're like kind of accentuating the thing that takes up the most space.
Yes.
So I don't know. How do you manage that? You just have a really tall thing in your studio, or what? How do you manage?
Yeah. So I decided, and I bet we could post some photos for my
bet.
marimba mallets. I have a wire shelving unit that's 4 shelves tall, and it's like 48 inches wide. So it's basically like 72 inches off the ground.
Yep.
And so by 48 inches by 24 inches, I can store all my marimba mallets in that
Yep.
space, which does take up space for sure.
Yep.
But I find that when I'm looking at stuff, getting out the bag and stuff, I want to be ready right now. So I understand. I totally understand. But for many years, I did the bag, and I got the idea from one of the percussionists Ensemble Moderne, Rainer Römer, and he said, I just have project stick bags. So we had like 5 mallet bags that are identical, that are kind of medium size, and they had numbers on them. And so like, this is I'm going to New York to record with Mike T bag, and it's got the mallets I need for that gig in that bag. And then maybe in between, I'm going to go play a concert with Hannah. So I have another bag that has the Hannah mallets in it, so that I'm never moving stuff between the bags. And so,
Okay, but
yeah,
what if you have 2 sets of whatever it is, M114s, and you need both of those sets for both these concerts? Do you get another set of mallets just so that you don't have to move sticks between them?
Pass. No. Well, with some mallets, I do. I do own multiple sets. Like the Bob Van Cise mallets, I think I have 2 sets of all of them for some reason. But I would probably move them if it were me. But anyway, it's a great idea. But yeah, in terms of the storage, it does take up space. But I have a lot of shelves in my space and I use plastic tubs to organize the rest of my stuff. Triangles, tambourines, that kind of stuff. And so because of that, I'm already in a shelving location. So I might as well. But I don't know.
But also the other issue is like if you have a shelving unit, and like you have to have a bunch of space on the top of the shelf, because that mallet, you have to take it out and it has to clear. So you have to have maybe like a little less than 1 mallet's height also.
Yes. It does take up space, and it is frustrating. So the bag idea is clearly a better idea.
No,
but what I like about the shelf idea is that it's really easy to then, let's say I get 1 new set of mallets, I can really easily move them over.
And they're always organized. Like my mallet bags are basically just a cacophony of mallets that are just in there. And when it's time for me to look for something, I open it up, the mallets kind of spill out, and then I say, okay, where are those?
Yeah.
You have to like try to find the pairs and things.
I've gotten
totally. Yeah, for me at this point, there was a long time ago, that Marimba One used to give mallets to their artists,
Mm-hmm.
and so I have a ton of Marimba One mallets,
Mm-hmm.
and they have become their own bag. Like,
Oh,
this is
okay.
the
Yeah, yeah.
Marimba One bag, but for me, I'm interested in the unwound mallets, because for me, I do it just based on like the kind of mallet it is, because the way my brain is organized, I think, okay, I'm gonna play a vibraphone piece. I need I need a vibraphone mallet, and so I can
Mm.
actually like physically bring this entire bag to my vibraphone and go to town on it.
Mm.
But like, I'll only in very rare exceptions do I need an uncovered mallet on the vibraphone.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with the like, actually, I'm thinking about this thing. I've got these new xylophone mallets for our recording project that we won't
Mm-hmm.
tell anybody about yet. Um,
Yeah, just in case it doesn't work.
yeah. But I got these covered xylophone mallets from Freer,
Ooh,
and
nice. I
now I'm
can't wait
trying
to
to
hear
think:
them.
do they do the covered, the wrapped xylophone mallets go in the uncovered bin, or do they go in the covered bin? Gotta go.
Well, okay. Yeah, I think I this is where when you start to get older, your system changes. So, like you, I got a lot of mallets from Vic Firth,
Yep.
and some of the rubber and xylophone mallets they make, I've decided I like to use in multiple percussion situations.
Yep.
And their balls are a little bit bigger. And so I just keep those next to the marimba mallets because I have extra space on my shelf, or they were their own bag. And
Yep.
so I consider orchestral mallets their own category. So those could be wound, unwound, brass, rubber, diamond, whatever is in the middle of the mallet. And so I have like a mallet bag that is basically filled with everything from super tiny brass mallets to covered yarn. But I guess the only classification for those for me is that I consider them like nice. Like I wouldn't hit a plank of wood with this, or they're breakable, more fragile and breakable. So
Huh.
that's how how I've always organized them. And at some point I'll have enough, I'll have too many of those mallets that I'll need to get another container for them. But yeah, totally, because it's not by instrument. Like sometimes, you'll bring a pair of marimba mallets with you to play suspended cymbal, which if you are our only listener, you will discover that we don't like doing that. So yeah, I think I do agree with you that it's weird, but maybe not everybody has the same complete OCD that we do.
Yeah. I mean, not to put the punchline before the joke here, but it seems to me like the most important thing for me as someone who organizes a lot of things, like
Yes.
mallets is kind of the tip of the iceberg for us.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of different things. Like, we have to organize uh, ideas and people in our studios, and tasks, and your desk space, and obviously, and then other physical objects in your life.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of organization that everybody has to do, and I think the most important thing for all of us is to organize things based on how our brain is organized. Like, when somebody
Interesting.
says, "Hey, can you get that book for me?" Like, you say, "Hey, I read this book once, and would you like to like Practicing Music by Design by Christopher Burke?"
Mm-hmm,
Like,
mm-hmm.
I've read that book, and if you can, in the quickest and most efficient way possible, go to a place and get that book,
Yes.
it doesn't really matter if your organization makes sense to anybody else, um, unless you're in a team or a collaborative environment.
Yes.
That's very important. But
Yeah.
I would organize based on how your brain works, and that takes a long time to figure out how your brain functions.
Totally. And I think maybe the two of us I think you have known for a lot longer than most people how your brain works based on our previous episodes. The sort of sense of when you've articulated, oh, this is what I think I need, or
Yeah.
this is the kind of I need to have this in order to be productive, or I need to have this in order to be productive. I think you have encountered that a lot more than most a lot earlier than most people have. But
Maybe.
I think when we talk about music organization, I have some things to say about that as well. But yeah, I totally agree. I think that it needs to work for you, and just like I think we mentioned in episode 1 or 2, tech tools,
Yep.
it can't take up a lot of mental space. So mallets are the number one thing that we have a lot of, but it can't occupy a lot of my brain's CPU to keep track of where my mallets are. Otherwise, I have enough trouble keeping track of what I've lent to people.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's gotta be idiot proof. It's gotta be easy to see what I have. It's gotta be easy to pack from.
Yep.
Like if I'm going somewhere, it's gotta be easy for me to go, there's that thing. And then it's gotta be easy for me to like brainstorm ideas. Something I'll do a lot is if I'm working with a composer or something, or another percussionist, it's gotta be easy for me to say like, oh, let me go try these things.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to grab these right now.
So for somebody, if I can confirm something that you, or maybe give support for something that you had said before, that you have these project bags.
Yes.
That Reiner had also.
Yeah.
I share that. I have one bag that's been my go-to, like, this is the bag that leaves the house bag for a long time.
What is that? Tell me what it is. I want to know so badly.
Well, no, it's just like, it's another one of the mallet bags, right? I think that's one of the like old Marimba 1 bags, and it fits my 11x17 folder in it that has the music, but it's just a bag that doesn't store anything except for things for the gig.
Yes, yeah. So it lives empty, except it also, according to your YouTube video, it has to have gum, some MikeDrops, trademark.
Mike's drops, yeah.
MikeDrops, drum key, maybe.
Yeah, I like having. I've actually just put pencils and a pencil sharpener in there. Mm-hmm. That's important. But yeah, so it basically is something that if I'm on my best game, I'll come back from the gig, I'll open it up, and I'll put those mallets where they need to go, and then that bag will be empty. That doesn't always happen, but that's the best system, because otherwise mallets are split between a few different places, and then when you go to access those mallets, they're gone.
Yeah. I just think I agree, and you've been so inspiring over the last couple of years, because I've started to realize, when you get older, organization's a game of inches, not feet. And so, like, if I walk into my studio and I'm like, where's that thing? Oh, there it is. And then I go, where's that thing? Then that's 30 seconds, 1 minute. And if I do that 10 times a day, that's a lot of time. Just the ability to know where stuff is. So I've become a real Johnny clean it up.
So what do you do?
Clearly not, apparently, but
no, but because a phrase that's inspired me recently is, don't put it down, put it away.
Ooh, yeah.
Right. So like it's easy to like walk in the door, and we have to have a place for like the dumping ground.
Yeah,
but
totally.
If you you can kind of train yourself, I guess, for lack of a better word. If you like cook yourself dinner and you have a plate, and one option is to put it in the sink, and the other option is to put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
So it's both are fine. It's just it's easier if you put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
But for you, like maybe this is my last point before we get moving on to the next thing. But if you
but do we need to get moving?
No. Yeah, the listener has signed off at this point.
Right, I think so, right?
But you have a studio at school.
Yes.
And you keep a lot of your mallets there, but you also have a home.
Yes. Good question.
So I think a lot of people are in this boat. I mean, especially from my history living in New York City, where nobody's practicing in their apartment, really. They're practicing in a shared rented studio space somewhere else where all the instruments are. But you have like maybe a practice pad, or maybe like a small vibraphone, or maybe a vibraphone without resonators. Right? So how do you manage 2 locations of gear? Or like, for me it's office and home, and I'm
Yeah.
sure it's similar for you. How do you manage two locations of gear?
Uh, First of all, this is a luxurious problem to have. Um, but I can't. I just mentally can't do it. So for many years, I kept, because I own a lot of instruments, but I don't know everything I need to participate as a classical musician.
Right.
Like I don't have this. And for some projects, maybe I'll need two of those.
Yeah.
And so, as somebody who's always, in most of my life, been teaching at a university, I've always had access to some sort of crazy stuff. So what I do is I emaciate one place,
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
I just do everything in the other place. So for right now, I'm mostly practicing here on campus because I have a place that I have complete control over, which is nice,
Yep.
and I can do some teaching in here. And I found that even though I like to practice at home, I'm so easily distracted that I like having a place I have to go to and where it's borderline uncomfortable to be in this place,
Mm-hmm.
that I want to just get done what I want to do and then I leave. And then I can do away from, because the older I get and the more I talk to people like you, the more I realize there's a lot more to do away from the instrument. So that
Sure.
I can do all my away from instrument stuff at home. So at home, I have a really big computer monitor and I've got my books. And so that's where I do my studying. And then when I go into school, there's no studying. I'm here to play a drum. And then I have a practice pad at home that I like watch Seinfeld and play. Or actually, right now I'm watching basketball and playing practice pad.
Sure, obviously. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, as one does. Cool.
Yeah, so
Hey,
that's what I do. But I think your mileage may vary, I think. But I think many years I tried to practice where I lived, and it just I would just get distracted. I would say like, oh, I should make an omelet, or let me sharpen my knives, or like let me like go weed the yard right now, or something like
that's
that.
so funny.
Yeah, how about you? How do you handle it?
The way I do it right now is I have a very finite amount of things in one of those, like, what are they, pea bags, the
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
cylinder kind of self-supporting standing bags. So I have one of those, and I have like kind of the bare minimum of teaching supplies in that. So like a, like two sets of marimba mallets, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe a set or two of vibraphone mallets, couple snare drum sticks, timbale sticks, brushes, Glock mallets, soft xylophone sticks, like kind of the bare minimum. And that all came from my experience when I was living in New York City and teaching at Rutgers University.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to be carrying your mallet bag through New Jersey Transit on the train, walk to the university, and then get there with a big mallet bag. Like you want
Mm-hmm.
to kind of travel light and
Exactly. Yeah.
but you also can't afford to have your A plus mallets and sticks be out of circulation.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is just like have like kind of the core mallets and store them in a practice room at the
Mm-hmm.
school, and then I would go and use those for lessons. And yeah, maybe it wasn't the top tier stuff, but at least I wasn't missing it. And I did the same thing with school.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that's really helped me, like I guess if there's anybody who's a teacher out there, something that really helped me was to have like kind of a spare set of sticks that I don't mind having people play, like especially timpani mallets, where
Mm.
I got all the Vic Firth Tim Jennis
Yeah. Yeah.
Tim Jennis Vic Firth ones, and they all are in a bag in the office. And I don't really use those for my professional timpani playing when I get to play, but I think they're great for if like a prospective student comes in for a lesson and they don't have timpani mallets, and
Yeah.
or maybe they don't have a lot of instruction at home, and so they come in with wood mallets, or
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
oh, I only remembered to bring one mallet today.
Totally.
Then
Totally.
like have mallets that the student can just throw in their hands and they sound good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do that, and I have them in a pea bag at work, and they sit there. And then right now we're recording this kind of toward the end of the semester, So what's going to happen is when that summer break starts, I'll bring all those mallets home and they'll go back to circulation. Then next year I'll probably choose different sticks to bring to school.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I do the same thing. And for many years when I was teaching at multiple schools, I would just, yeah, like you said, keep a set of mallets there.
Yep.
It's definitely for those or people that are thinking, "Oh my God, that's a lot of money." I think it's definitely worth the investment to save the peace of mind.
Yeah.
Before Dropbox and before Backblaze and stuff, I would like have next to the door, a post-it that said, "Pack this and that, download this file and move this thing."
Yeah.
And now I'm so lucky. I'm so glad that we're in a time where we don't need as many keys and we don't need as many files and folders and stuff. And I think we can think the same thing for our mallets, because the amount of mental energy it saved me to like walk into campus and know that my mallets are in that room versus like, are they at home? Are they, it saved me so much time.
Yep.
So
and that's
I highly
worth
recommend it.
$100 or whatever it is for me.
Agreed. Yeah. So that's my shameless plug to invest in yourself.
There should be like a rainbow star.
Oh yeah. Okay, here's a question you've asked on a previous episode. Two other kinds of mallets: bass drum, tam tam, chime hammers, which I group as the same thing, and then timpani mallets. How are you storing these things?
Timpani mallets are in a old suitcase or an old briefcase. Sorry, briefcase. And I have chosen to do the sandwich baggy swirl to protect the heads of the mallets on that, and then the bass drum mallets, and associated with bass drum mallets for me are ruta for Mahler 2, etc. And dampening cloths and clips. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else in that bag or not. Bass drum paraphernalia.
Bass drum paraphernalia. Yes.
And tam tam mallets, and those actually go in a little kind of duffel bag for me. I have a small, maybe it's 2 feet long or something by a foot wide, and I keep those in there. It happens to be branded with the name of my dad's former veterinary clinic.
Yeah.
But I keep everything in there. And then for chime hammers, I have a small bag that's kind of like a tool kit bag.
Okay.
And because it's about the size of a chime hammer, and so I put all the chime hammers in that. It's got a little handle, and it's got a luggage tag on it that says chimes.
Got it.
Yeah. What about you? What's your system for those?
Almost identical. So the bass drum and tam tam mallets I store in a duffel bag that says Johns Hopkins University on it, and inside that duffel bag are also. Oh, I also have a couple slapsticks in there, because for me the bag represents I am not principal percussionist.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So like I might be called upon to do these things, and I keep the chime hammers in there. Although recently I've moved the chime hammers onto my pegboard, because I just think they look cool.
Yeah, with the little, you got 2.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah, and then so I keep them in a duffel bag, and then when it's time to take them, I mean, generally, if you're playing bass drum, I'll bring a lot of bass drum mallets to the first rehearsal. If I'm playing with an orchestra, I'll bring a crap ton, and then I might tone it down. Why not? Yeah. Well, but I agree. I keep all the paraphernalia in there as well.
Yeah, I think that's critical, because you want to say, all right, I've got a bass drum gig, I'm going to bring this bag, and then you don't really think about it. I mean, you probably do the same thing for tambourine and triangle and stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, like, I forgot to bring the fishing line. Fishing line's in there. But I will tell you that my experience with probably the most professional orchestra I've played with is the New York City Ballet, maybe.
Okay.
But no, I played with Colorado Symphony. I played with a couple, but New York City Ballet, I played with them quite a bit there for a couple years, And
Mm-hmm.
my first gig with them was playing Prokofiev Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
Some of the greatest ballet music. It's up there with the Firebird and Rite of Spring and all that. But so I showed up and I had
Mm-hmm.
meticulously planned out, like, okay, this mallet, I like bought some mallets for it. I had
Wow.
meticulously
Okay.
planned out everything. I'd written in the part, you play that with this mallet and then switch and then wait and
Uh-huh.
then mute. Um, and I showed up there and I had all the sticks. I showed up like whatever it is, 6 hours early, and had the stick tray with the mallets all laid out exactly how it was, so that all the mallets are perfectly parallel. And
Yeah.
I remember I think it was the principal percussionist shows up and he goes, "Yeah, we don't use those mallets. We use ours. So maybe just go find. We've got these mallets back in the back. Just go get those." And it was
Nice.
like two mallets. It's like here's one and here's the other one if you want to roll.
Nice.
And so I thought, oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna pivot a little bit. But
Well, a lot of
sometimes
times,
it happens.
a lot of big orchestras, you will use their stuff.
Yep,
You'll use their triangle. You'll use their bass drum mallets. You'll use their,
cymbals.
which leads to a question, a very leading question, which is that, so here, and the schools I teach at, I require people to buy mallets, right? First of all, they're cheaper than any other musical instrument.
Yep.
And when I was in school, the requirement was you also are buying bass drum and tam tam mallets. But
Sure.
I've had a rethink on this because when I play professionally, a lot of times I'm using other people's bass drum and tam tam mallets. So should the student own that stuff?
I think if you are going to go and take orchestral auditions, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're not, it's kind of my philosophy with the tambourines and triangles too, which
Mm-hmm,
is
mm-hmm.
you should probably have like something,
Yeah.
but we have the other stuff if you need it. Like
Yeah.
if you need another sound, like I don't want the student to go out there and buy 6 triangles and all of the Stessel beaters,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's going to wreck their bank account. And are they really going to need that? No, but they do need it, but it's going to wreck the bank account. So
Mm-hmm.
when it comes up in the music, we've got it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right, here's a single row tambourine, or here I would buy the tambourines that you probably don't need, and then I'll have them buy the middle of the row one.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally.
Does that seem like it's aligned with what you're thinking?
I think so. Yeah, at some point you gotta invest in yourself if you want to be a professional percussionist,
Yep.
professional performer of percussion proclivity,
Yeah, posthumously.
posthumous professional percussion proclivity purveyor.
Oh, okay.
But I think also maybe the two of us on the spectrum are more collectors. It seems like both of us like to have the books. We like.
Oh yeah.
We'll buy the book eventually. Like
I
I'll
want the
buy
book.
any book.
Yeah.
Like we'll buy the book. We'll check out those mallets. We probably read the Steve Weiss catalog. Like we'll buy the album.
Yes.
All those kind of things. So I do think maybe we're on that kind of spectrum.
Yep.
But also comes down to music. Like I'll buy the music. And a lot of times I have a physical and a digital copy of the music just because I want the physical copy. I think it's pretty.
What do you think Marie Kondo would do with us?
She would kill us. Although I did read her book, and I was talking to this composer, Matt Barneson.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And Matt was saying he read Marie Kondo's book because Matt wears like one T-shirt.
Okay.
That's what he wears. And he said, he said that he thought that throwing away your music scores and your books was not part of tidying up because it's something that you need for work.
Yep.
And so for me, I do feel like I need this stuff, even though they bring me joy, but I do need it because, we talked to Ryan Straber for 20 minutes about manuscripts.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do think I need them.
The
And
only
I have gotten rid of a lot of music, and I have gotten rid of a lot of mallets in my life, and I do regret every single one of those.
Okay, so Marie, if you're listening, We respect you. We don't need you.
I do agree the decluttering in every other element of my life is 100%
Yeah.
should be
But
there.
the only issue is that 90% of my house is instruments. Right? It's like
Is
90% of my physical space is like the
but is that
kitchen.
an issue?
Well, no, but for tidying up, like, okay, we can
Yeah.
tidy up, I guess, the silverware drawer and like put the forks with the forks
Yeah,
and
you are the
thank
kind of
them.
person that does have like one pot.
Well, I think my issue is that everything that I've purchased in the kitchen has been for a piece.
Yes. I think this is a difference between us on our agree cast is that I purposefully avoid developing hobbies because I know I will get obsessed with the gear.
Yeah,
I like to ride a bike, but if
bad
I
news.
bought a bike in a few months, I would have invested $200,000 in this bike.
Seats, wheels,
It's already
gears.
enough that I like to cook. And so it's like, oh, I should get that knife or I should sharpen my knife. So recently I've been on a whetstone kick. I've been whetstoning
Oh,
all of my knives. Oh, this is bad. So
dangerous.
yeah, I think that's another reason I don't keep my stuff at home because I want it to be. Otherwise, 90% of my domicile would be just filled with drumsticks at any moment, which is crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe we're weird. But I do think, how has your philosophy changed since you were in school? Because in school, I remember being a lot more mobile. And I mean, when I was in grad school, we had these like drawers we kept our stuff in. But I do remember like I didn't have a storage plan for any of
No,
my stuff.
but I think
Yeah.
that makes you less mobile, right? If you've got stuff everywhere, like because I was thinking about undergrad right first when you were talking about that, and we had a locker like a high school kind of tall skinny locker,
Yeah.
and I just would throw everything in there, and there was no way that if somebody said, "Hey, we need you to go on this concert tour," I would be able to be like, "Okay, I can be ready in 5." Like,
Huh, yeah.
if you don't need anything, yeah, I could probably leave. But I remember talking to Jack Van Giem once, and he was talking about, kind of the key to being on tour with the San Francisco Symphony was to be about 10 minutes away from leaving at any moment. Like, he wouldn't get to the hotel room or something and then like unpack the suitcase and hang everything up and like put things in drawers and whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
mostly like we want to be about 10 minutes away from like, okay, let's put all the toiletries in the bag, boom, and we're gonna get that dirty clothes and put it in the bag, boom, and then we're ready to go.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have your stuff all over the place, like, oh, I've got some things in that practice room, and yeah, I've got a couple things in the locker, and oh, that person borrowed this thing, but I'd never asked for it back. Okay, like you're days away from being ready to go.
Yeah, I agree. I prioritize. It already takes enough time to pack for a percussion concert. Like and mallets are usually the last thing. It's like, where are the snare drums? How many cymbal stands am I bringing with me?
Okay,
So I think
this was yeah. This is the okay. Can we get on this topic? So we're talking about storing instruments, but we're on it. Like when you go to play somewhere, how do you transport the sticks? Do you have them,
I
like,
have very strong opinions about this.
okay, do you check the sticks? Do you carry them on? Are they a separate bag or are they in a rolling carry-on?
Oh.
What goes on?
Okay, well, I will just say I agree with my friend Ian Rosenbaum that you always want to carry the sticks with you because they are the thing you need to play the concert
Yeah.
wherever you go. But sometimes when I'm on a longer tour, I will put the sticks into a checked bag if I have a lot of them. Like I remember doing a tour with Hannah where I had one of those Pelican cases, really big Pelican cases that had a
Love
bunch of
those.
audio gear in it, and I had space for my mallets in there because I was using the carry-on luggage for other instruments. But I will always carry them. Generally, will carry them with me, which leads me to mallet bags. I like to carry. I like to travel with a backpack.
Okay.
And my backpack is usually more aesthetically pleasing than my mallet bag. So I like mallet bags that fit in my backpack. So when I travel, I will try to carry. I have these two little mallet bags, and I can't remember who makes them, but if you make one, please hit me up. And I put the mallets in that, and then I put the mallet bag in my backpack because I feel like a wounded deer with a backpack and a big mallet bag. So that's how I transport.
I love that. Well, I'll tell you one of my newfound joys, and this came from like I was at a place that we had, those scooters. Remember from PASIC?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those what are they? Vivo scooters? What's the name of that thing? Oh look,
There's a bunch. Oh look at that! Hi.
Well, how did that happen?
I don't know. How did you do that?
Oh, did I do 2 thumbs? Yeah, I did 2 thumbs. Maybe we should put that. We can put that recording on the.
That's
video.
amazing.
But so I was riding on this scooter thing, and I had the mallet bag and my backpack. Here's the trick. I have a backpack that's kind of like one of those travel backpacks, and it's got the clasps that go like kind of across the collarbone to keep the straps, and like keep the weight off of your shoulders. Or
Yeah.
So what I do is I put backpack on, mallet bag, one shoulder inside of the strap, and then lock it.
Wow, you're locked in there.
And then it can't come off, and it doesn't move. And so I've got backpack plus the mallet bag, and I am just
love it.
Scootering.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like to scooter.
And then I think personally for mallet bags, because I'm always putting my mallet bag into something else, like either a carry-on suitcase or into a backpack. Because most of the time when I travel, I'll have a carry-on and a backpack. And so I don't want a third bag. I can't bring a third bag. And so for the mallet bags that I store stuff in, it doesn't matter. But for stuff that I move with, I want it to be like kind of as thin as possible. Like as thin as possible, as transparent, just small, so that I can keep stuff in it. So that's my kind of super weird thing. And I know a lot of people have tried to develop mallet bags that look cool or look like backpacks or look like great bags.
Don't do it.
No, they're not as great.
We don't need them.
To me, I think.
I'll tell
what
you
about you?
Before we need a sleek, aesthetically pleasing mallet bag, we need black hardware.
Yes.
Don't give me the shiny
nice.
chrome. Give me matte black hardware.
Oh, so nice.
Come on, people. But anyway, yeah, for me, I'm right there with you. I have, my road bag, that like Marimba 1 bag with the backpack straps. I put the mallets in there, and then I have to get a suitcase. Like my carry-on suitcase has to have one side that will perfectly fit that bag.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
Half, it folds in half. And then one half I've always dedicated to the stick bag, and the other half is for everything else.
Nice. I love that. I've always had the kind of carry-on bag that only opens in one place, so I'm super jealous of yours right now. But I agree. Yeah, I even filter backpacks I buy by how tall are they. They have to be 19 inches tall.
Yeah, bring the stick bag with you when you're picking out the backpack.
Yeah, I've definitely brought some mallets with me. So it's encouraging to hear I'm not the only one.
Oh, yeah. Distance high five.
Who's so crazed about this. Yeah.
What do you think is the best course of action? Should we go into the library stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about music organization.
Okay.
Because I think we have the same points. Music organization and music deployment.
Yep.
So for this, again, I have two things. I have music, how I store it digitally.
Yep.
And then how I store it IRL, the physical music. So should I take the lead on this?
I would love that. You want to start?
Because I have more digital music. And so I store my digital music electronically, and I use Dropbox, and I have a folder that's called Scores. And then the directory structure is Scores, and then in the score, it's last name of composer, comma, first name of composer. That's a folder. And then in that folder, it's name of piece. Sometimes it's last name of composer underscore name of piece. And then in that folder is the PDF of that. And then in that same folder, I'll keep the electronic parts. And then I'll keep all the drafts if it's a piece I've been working on with the composer. And so that is helpful for me because I use this app on my iPad called Fourscore. And Fourscore can suck directly from Dropbox. So I just connect the Dropbox folder. And it's really helpful to share with people because if I'm on my computer, I can just open the scores directory and search by the name of the composer, then right click and then copy the Dropbox link and send somebody the PDF of something. So that's how I organize electronic music. For many years, I was literally scanning music. And now I'm in the habit of scanning stuff as I play it if it's something that I don't have scanned. But these days, most of the music I play that's new, I'll get as a PDF. So that's how I do it. And then for the practice files, for something like transcribe files, I have a separate Dropbox folder it's called like transcribe practice files. And then all of my transcribe files are there. And the last thing I'll say about Dropbox is that one thing I like about it is that it's pretty easy for me to put some stuff online only. So it doesn't take up space on my computer. So I can just right click it and say, store this file online only. So if there's a big electronic file, then I don't need to have it on my computer. But that's a system I've been working on for many, many years. And I grew up with directory structures, and using DOS. So I feel very comfortable in that organizational structure. But then for paper music, I totally defer to you. What are you doing paper-wise?
Yep, and I will confirm that your digital music organization is probably the best of anyone I've ever encountered. Because there's been, how many times has it been that like somebody's reached out to you and said, hey, I have this hard copy at home, but I'm away and we've decided we're playing off iPads.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, can you whatever? And you for some reason you can respond to that with no stress and taking no time out of your day. It's immediate. Or it's like, it's either I don't have it or here's the link, and you could do it within a minute with no stress.
Yeah, I'll tell you the exact workflow on my computer is that I press Command space bar to open the search bar, and I type in the last name of the composer, and then the first thing that comes up is usually that folder. So I hit enter, and then in that folder is what the file's there or it's not, and if it's there, I right click it, and then I copy the link and I text it to you. So
it's amazing.
I got that from a number of people that I know have done that, and it's been super cool. And I used to be the same way with music. Like I had gigabytes of music that I had like meticulously organized by who it was from and stuff like that. So I find that quite fun because, like you said, then all you have to do is worry about tidying up instead of cleaning up.
Yeah.
And I consider, like, when I get a PDF of something in an email, I even if it takes like 5 seconds, I will download it and put it in the Dropbox folder because just having a junk drawer is not enough. Because if all of my music is going to be digital, is my storage system none or something? Like, what? How am I supposed to keep track of this stuff?
Yeah, because you can't, like, when you're in like your office or your room or something, and you say, I know there's no organization, but I know that shirt is somewhere over there, like in that pile. Then that organizational system is like physical. Yeah. But in digital world, it's an infinite, like, wormhole.
Totally.
Well, I think it's super impressive and amazing. Do you do the same thing with email? Do you have a lot of folders in email?
No, 0 folders.
Do you
I have
do
the opposite.
Archive?
Yeah, I archive everything. But then my thought with email is that the search quality has gotten so good that I just search for it.
Yep.
Because the way my brain works is I usually have some kind of memory of some important piece of information. Like, what is the name of the person who sent this to me?
Yeah.
What was in the subject line? Was it an unusual subject line? Did it talk about turtles? Like, what was the, what was the thing that was happening in this email? So I can usually remember that. And ditto my paper music, I can usually remember, oh yeah, it was at the top left. Yeah. Or something like that. So I don't know. How about you? How do you store your paper music? I want to know this.
Paper music. Okay, so I have paper music system is I'm a librarian at heart, as I think we both are in some ways. But I'm a librarian at heart, and I did a whole bunch of work in music libraries as my work study job. So I got some ideas there, but I feel like my library system isn't as refined as it could be. So physical music for me is I keep everything in a folder, kind of like what you do digitally. Like I have some of those, I don't know, like what are they, manila folders? No,
Yeah.
what like the ones with they fold over and they have a clasp,
Okay.
whatever those are.
Yes, I understand. I have some of
Envelopes,
those. Yeah. Envelope.
envelopes, not folder, envelope. Do we have to talk about what a binder is?
I hope not.
What defines a binder? Um, but yeah, so it's like I put everything in one of those like 9 by 12 folders,
Okay.
and then I have a little, what is it, like 2 by 3, 2 by 4 Avery label that I
Yes. Yeah.
print off with the name of the piece and the composer. Everything about that piece goes in, whether it's a copies or an article about the piece or notes that I had from a lesson about that piece or something that's
Oh,
like
I
from a
love
while ago.
this.
So everything goes into the folder, and then it happened sometime in the spring last year that I had a student who was working on Fantasy of Japanese Woodprints, and I said, "Gosh, I had that music at one point. Let me just go to the
Yeah.
file."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I pulled it out, and sure enough, there's a PAS article in there. There was like some like sticking notes. There were exercises
I
I came
love
up
this.
with.
Yeah.
So anyway, I do that, and then those folders get organized into, I have a few filing cabinets now,
Okay.
and I organize uh, basically based on instrument. So there's one for snare drum and rhythmic training. There's one for mallets. There's a filing folder for mallets. There's a place for timpani. There's a place for drum set. There's a place for like non-Western music of some kind. Then there's also maybe a category that seemingly has been created because I didn't understand, about like this is just ragtime stuff. Like there's
Ha!
the brewer and the green and all the the other solos and
That's funny.
whatever, and then there's a little place for orchestral music.
Okay.
So that's
Wow.
it. That's
I
the
love this.
system.
I love this system, and I think we've talked about it before because I love the idea that when you have the piece, you have all the stuff around the piece when you find it.
Yep.
Like, when I remember when I was playing Rain Tree, I made a little sheet with all the polyrhythms you would need.
Yes.
And then and this little index card that said, here's how I set up the crotales.
Yep.
And then when I open the folder for Rain Tree, it's there. And maybe the original of the part is there, and then maybe the one that I pasted together is there.
Yep.
How do you deal with music that is, because a lot of times when you get into this copy paste world,
Yep.
or when you're making a part, your music ends up larger
Yep.
than 8.5 by 11. So how do you deal with that, given
Yeah.
that many filing cabinets are not 8.5 by 11? Do you
I
have a
have-
special flat ones?
I do. So there's two things. There's one thing I forgot too. I forgot that as you were talking about like kind of the accessories around the piece.
Yeah.
Generally, if I have like a percussion ensemble piece, and I've purchased this piece, it's mine, then I will have a set of single-sided copies of every part that goes, and that's part of the library training. Like you have these, my brother used to call them shooters, because you could just put them on top of a copy machine and run it through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I keep a clean set of those single-sided masters.
Yeah.
In the folder. And then it just makes everything so much easier. For solo stuff, you don't really have to do that necessarily, but it helps with digitizing it if you need to digitize it, or if a person loses a part and you just have to like grab and shoot, you can go. And then I do have a oversize place. So there's a location, kind of like what libraries do. You have like this oversized location. And what I used to do when I was really good about making this library thing, and I haven't done this in a couple years now, but I would make a folder for every piece and then I'd make an envelope for every piece. I'd have the sticker on it, and then if that piece like contacta or something, if that piece is
Yeah.
oversized and wouldn't fit in the folder, I have two methods. One is I would cut a slit in the top. Like Druckmann Reflections on the Nature of Water is just barely bigger than the
Yes.
envelope. So I
Yes.
cut the
Yes.
top and it just kind of sticks out a little bit, and that's okay. But contacta, I have a little like a hot green piece of paper that goes in the folder, and it says this piece is oversized.
Wow. Okay.
So I could look for it, and I would say, in some pieces I know that Mark Applebaum's 30 is too big, but there's some pieces that maybe I don't remember it's too big, or the part is too big, but the actual
This is interesting because it reminds. I mean, I think I'm also a librarian at heart, so I also have
yeah.
the shooters.
Yep.
I always have shooters, and I always want to scan a clean copy.
Yep.
And I hate it when my students scan stuff on their phone. It's the worst. But the clean copy, and you need the shooter. I totally agree. But I think it's so funny how it's like we're so meticulously organized about stuff that's one size, and then when it's oversized, it's just like, it's all over there.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm very much that. And the filing folders that I get, or the filing cabinets that I get are big. They're like legal size.
Okay.
So they're not 8.5 by 11. They're whatever, like 10 by.
Yeah. But even so, the flat ones are better for the oversized music.
Yep, and once you get in there, that's. I mean, I don't have too many oversized things, amazingly enough. But it would be nice to have. I'm looking at like a bookshelf right now that has removable shelves. Like you could remove the shelf and then have that be oversized.
Oh, I have all these big A3. What's the big size? A3 size, kind of cardboard folders that I got in Germany. So it's like, imagine a rectangle that's about half of an inch thick.
I'm imagining.
But it's A3. And then you take off these little rubber bands and you open it up, and it could store like 20 sheets of A3 paper.
I know what you
So
mean.
I have a bunch of those, and then on the cover I would write like, this one has contacta in it, or this one has third construction and this other piece. And
I love
so I use those, and then I put them on a shelf, which is kind of cool.
I really, really love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you find a link to those.
Hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, this
Did
one
I hear
has
a desk bell?
Yeah, I hit a desk bell by accident. So this is...
Yeah, that's great.
And it looks like this.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
so you open it up. Got elastic. And here we go. It's got all the music to microphony in it, including some design of a monochord. And some other all taped together music and some photos and stuff of how I did it. So that's I use these to store oversized stuff, and some of them will say, like totally incongruous repertoire on them. Like this has third construction and table music, or rhyme and reason and Kafka fragments or something.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't really matter. So yeah, I use those, and then I put them on the bookshelf. But I wish I could store them all next to each other. How much do you think, when you store the music, Mr. Librarian, that the storage system is based on some objective way of storing things, or that it's just based on what you personally own the most of?
I think no matter what, you have to store things based on what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you are in a communal environment, like the reason that we have these these universal organizational systems for libraries is because you could go to another library and you don't have to completely reinvent the way you organize the pieces in your brain. Like those call numbers are going to be pretty similar. Like where they are in the library is going to be different, obviously. But
Okay, sidebar.
yeah,
In college, are you as much of a nerd as me? But I remember having to memorize the Library of Congress call numbers
no
for
kidding,
music. Yeah, like M485,
right?
ML10. What are those? And I loved browsing by those. Like if
Yeah.
this marimba quartet, which is like, I think it's ML485 or it's M485 or whatever it is.
Yep.
I would love to just like go to, because you can for listener who is not a librarian, like there are call numbers that it's not by composer, it's by instrumental
Genre. Yeah.
yeah, like so pieces for 4 people,
Yeah.
or piano for 4 hands, or pieces for 3 people, percussion subsection, then composer. And if you do it that way, and you just show up at that section, there's so many cool things.
I love
But
that.
anyway,
And
okay,
we miss
objective
out on
organization.
that, right?
Oh, I miss it, yeah.
And I think when you're kind of similar to what you were talking about with the mallets, where here's all the mallets and now I can kind of see what's available. And when you're in a library, you can see the things without having to search for it. So it's actually it's like another way of researching something.
Yes, totally.
So
Browsing. And in fact, you used to be able to search I remember as a grad student in the library, there was one way of searching that was like browsing by category on the library website. Do you remember doing that?
Totally.
And you could just like scroll through, just like the card catalog. It felt awesome.
Yeah. So I'm
sorry
with
to
you.
interrupt you.
No, I'm with you on that. But I think when you're dealing with your own library and people aren't going to come in and try to access it, then you should organize again like how your brain is set up.
Yeah.
And like rarely do I need to do I have a piece that's on my mind and I don't know the instrument.
Yes.
Right? Like that's probably the first thing I think about is like Bob Aldrich from My Little Island. I'm not going to go directly to the composer, let's say, because I would say, okay, that's a marimba piece, right? And if I'm looking for a piece, it's probably like, okay, I'm playing this marimba piece, and I remember that it was, something about an island. Then you're sunk if you don't know how you categorized it. But if you say it was a marimba piece, okay, let's go to the marimba pieces. Let's just file through.
Yeah.
I remember in undergrad, my job, I was tasked with the responsibility of creating an organizational system for the jazz library. And the stipulations were it has to be organized in both the FileMaker computer and on the shelves in a way that is like library-ish. But then it also has to be intuitive enough so that a jazz professor could come in and just go through the shelf and browse the way that that they want to browse in their brain, how the piece is organized in their brain.
That is interesting.
So I had to talk to the people, talk to the jazz folks and say, how did you, I'm going to say a few titles. You tell me what's the first thing you think about, right? Maybe that's like A Child Is Born, Thad Jones, right?
Okay.
What do you think about? Maybe they think, okay, that's big band tune. And somebody else said, oh, it's kind of like ballad. And so I tried to make these little call numbers. And then it also, obviously, they didn't say this, but it has to be flexible. Like, we're going to add pieces to this library. So we have to be able to fit something in between, whatever these two tunes are.
Interesting.
So I had a blast trying to come up with that system. And supposedly I was there, whatever it was, a year or two ago. And system's still working.
So it's not Library of Congress, but
it's not
rather
Library of Congress.
Yeah, I think maybe the two of us did the same thing, because I'm looking at my music and it's all organized to where it's like you said, the primary parameter is instrument.
Yep.
And then once I'm in that, I have a pretty good memory of where it's going to be, and it's going to be within 1 foot.
Yeah.
My organizational systems are like keyboard solo music.
Yep.
Snare drum solo,
Yeah.
method books, timpani, timpani and orchestral repertoire, chamber music, ensemble music, which is like bigger chamber music, I guess. Reference materials, and then multiple percussion material.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of overlap in there, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that's like gooey. I don't know. I keep that book there, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But then when you open the drawer, it's not in alphabetical order. It's just in there, and I usually remember where it was the last time I touched it.
I think I'd have a hard time. I'd have a harder time with the distinction between solo and method book than I would with the non-alphabetical thing.
Oh my gosh, it's hard. Yeah. I mean, I only switched to method book because I ran out of space. So maybe I should switch it all just to keyboard and snare drum, because I just ran out of space. And so I started to, I thought, well, what's another parameter? What's the second metadata point here? And I guess it's method book. But as we've talked about in our method book club, I guess most of what I have is solo music. So I accept the comment.
Yeah. Did we solve everything?
I think we did. Look at us.
Yeah, and we bored
How about
people in
this?
the process.
What's I have a question.
Yeah.
What's something somebody can do that is worth it to invest in the organization of their percussive life? Or how worth it is it to invest in being organized as a percussionist?
Oh gosh.
This should have been the first question.
Isn't it the most important thing? I mean, really? Like, organized in your calendar to show up on time and to the right location. Organized to communicate something accurately. I don't know. I think it's important. So, but I think it depends on the person whether they want to spend. Let's pretend like you have $100 or something. I think it depends on the person whether you want to spend that $100 on the Dropbox account for the year or the filing cabinet and the envelopes. For me, I'm such an analog person that it's way more important for me to have. When you see what my studio looks like right now, you'll be laughing about this. But I think it's more important for the hard copies to be organized than it is the digital thing, because I can search the digital thing. Like Alfred can search so much deeper than I can search physically in space. So I want to prioritize the physical space because I can't search the way Alfred can. But what do you think? Obviously, it's worth it.
Unfortunately, I agree. No, one thing I would say, I guess, is that it's sort of the same type of situation as buying a drum and not buying a case.
Yeah. Awesome.
You need a way to store this thing that's not going to hurt the thing. So if you have sheet music or if you have mallets, you need a way of keeping them that is not deleterious to the implement itself. So that's my
that's
thought.
like an epitome of like a Campitelloism.
Well, I think I just stole it from you. I think you said something about that once.
I did?
The case. I don't know. You need to budget for the case, I think.
Budget for the case. If you're going to, I can see myself ranting about that. Like, you're going to buy $1,000 snare drum, and then what do?
Yeah.
You carry around it in the cardboard box? Is that what happens?
I don't know. I've seen people do the cardboard box, which is cute.
It's cool. Yeah. Do you just put like a string around it? Like
yeah, just over the shoulder, like one of those Depression era hobo bags.
Yeah, you've got your Hoover flags out, and
yeah,
dang, yeah. Well,
so I think we should have talked about this first. The sort of why are we talking about this?
Okay, so should we start the episode over?
I don't know. I have another follow-up question.
Okay,
which is who else should we talk to about this that is extremely organized, or should we have done this before?
Okay,
I thought
so
about who we should talk to.
you know those things on like whatever it is, like YouTube or whatever, where somebody comes to a celebrity and they say like, who's the most famous person you could get on the phone right now? Have you ever seen these things?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
they
yeah.
have to like scroll through their contacts and then try to FaceTime somebody and see like who's the most famous person that'll pick up their call.
Hmm.
We could do that same thing. Like, all right, who's the person we could send a Zoom link to right now who would join us as a guest
Yeah. Who would get on the show right at this
right
exact moment?
now in the middle of their day.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I hesitate to even say proper nouns because I feel like we would be putting people on the spot, and that's not a
Hmm.
Midwestern thing to do.
No, we shouldn't do it. But I think we can think of some people that would be good to have, to talk to about
I
this.
would like to hear from a very successful disorganized person,
Yeah, actually, me too.
like someone who really like they have a lot of stuff, but their stuff is all over the place, and they play gigs all the time, and they feel super happy. I want to talk to that
Yeah,
person.
me too. Me too. Because the rest of my life, I don't consider myself an organized person, but somehow with this stuff, it frees my mind to be able to think about actually making music.
That's the point. I love that.
Mm.
That's like,
Mm.
gosh, that should be the title of the video, right? Like you're
Well,
organized because it saves you brain time, brain power.
yes, yeah. You hope
Uh,
it does.
That's the
Yeah,
point, anyway.
yeah.
Amazing.
Woof.
Well, excellent work.
We did
We
it.
will
Fun.
tap ourselves on the back for an episode that um, was either incredibly intriguing or mind-numbingly boring for somebody. But I think really impactful and like kind of like an under the hood look on at the stuff that we never really talk about.
No, and it's super important, um, and a lot of times your only window into it is what your direct teacher does. And there are some people out there who have brilliant ideas
Yep.
about sort of, oh, here's how I do this, or like,
Yeah.
oh, and I think our good mutual acquaintance Keith Aleo was really good about this a long time ago. Of
Yep.
whenever you would visit a place, going, "That's how you keep your Glocken? I have to take a photo of
Right.
that." Like
Yeah.
that's so cool. And I think that's something that we need a little bit more of because we are an instrument that no major design company will design things for.
Yep. But I do that
You know
same
what I
thing.
mean?
I have
Yeah.
the Apple Photos folder that's just instrument organization and maintenance
Yes.
things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Keith was really awesome about that. I've got some other things. I've got about 300 pictures of like different places I've been or things I've seen online, and
Wow.
it's really inspiring actually to go through and at the over the summer or something when you're trying to reimagine things. Just
Nice.
just to keep that going and I know I have pictures in there of Andy Bliss's office. I know I have pictures of Keith Aleo's office.
Oh yeah.
Um, I'm I don't know. I think I might have your pegboard picture that you sent me.
Oh yeah. But I think we do need to talk to a disorganized person.
Disorganized but happy. Like there's disorganized people who are shameful of their disorganization, but I don't want to talk to that person.
No, no, no. Somebody who's like, no, this is how it works.
It works really well for me to just like kind of not know where that second mallet is. Like I
Mhm.
actually, who might be interesting. I don't want to say names,
Okay.
but I know somebody who on the surface looks really disorganized, but I'll bet it's not, and I'll bet he's happy about it.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll say the name later. But
Okay. Okay. Cool.
if you're
I'm
that
excited for
person,
that.
write me an email. Well, maybe on that note, if you are listening on your podcast app on audio only, we do have a video channel on YouTube, and it is MikeDrop, and we look for that yellow logo of the two of us. If you are listening or watching on YouTube, we do have an audio version also if you want to carry us around with you. If you have thoughts for us, please feel free to reach out at duomicdrop@gmail.com. And if you If you want to leave a comment down below, go for it. Subscribe if you want to hear when the next video is going to drop from us. We try to put out about a video a week, and we'll try to keep it going as long as we've got stuff to talk about. So if you've got ideas, send them our way, and we would love to do that.
Love it.
All right.
Exciting.
Well, for now, bye from us. Bye, everybody.
See you next time.